Okay. So this is what we're going to talk about today is this crazy OBS thing, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about how to use this equipment and how you can use it for your live streaming and make it be something that you can take with you into other areas of your teaching, of your business, whatever it is. And I do want to remind my student workers that if y'all are standing back here, y'all are with me. So I'm good with it. Y'all can definitely have a great party with me back here, but you're in the screen. So, and that's another fear of it, right? Is that things happen around you and you have to just kind of be aware of what's happening. So how many of you guys who are online as well as in here, how many of you guys have gone live before? Anybody? Anybody? Okay, we've got a couple of people here. Okay, Christina, you say yes? Yes, absolutely. A couple of people saying they've only gone live on Twitter. Huh, okay, very good. I'm scared of going live on Twitter. They got judgy people out there, right? Which brings you to another scare of this, right? Is that people are going to judge you and they're going to say things about you, right? And that is something that you do have to make sure that you are just aware of, that you're going to get judged. People are going to see you. They're going to say weird things. They're going to, try to make you say things or do things or address weird things. And, honestly, you got to do the same thing that you do when you're on the road and driving along and somebody gets mad at you because you stayed too long in the left lane. You just got to ignore them, right? And it's a little bit more difficult when it's online. For some reason, everybody's terrified of what people are going to say to them online, right? So one of the things that I tell when I'm working with my classes is that the great thing, the best things about live streaming are probably also the worst things about it. All right. First of all, you've got technical difficulties. People in the live environment understand them a lot better than when you're recording something and you put something into the world that you've edited, right? Because people think you ought to have been able to see those things. But when you're live and I turn around and I'm in my video right now, we are live at this moment. I turn around and say, hey, y'all are in my shot. They just move on out. Did that bother anybody who's looking at that at all? No, it's a live situation. On the news in the mornings, when people's mics go out in the mornings, we forgive that in a heartbeat, but we would never forgive that on a sitcom that we're watching or a movie or anything like that. So one thing that I hope that I'm giving you guys right now is telling you that you need to be forgiving of yourself in that online environment as well. Okay. There's a lot of stuff out there with my face in a live environment on it already that is super embarrassing to me. Just because I held my face funny or looked at somebody funny or did something, said something funny, right? That's another thing. You can kind of correct yourself. But I'm going to argue with you right quick. All right. I'm going to argue with you guys and tell you that I think just about everybody in here likes to be in that STEM world. Am I right? Am I right? Maybe. No, I got a couple of people going, not really. Okay. So you use that little iPhone for just about everything that you do. Anytime you want to know anything, you pull that guy up. That's an interest in science and technology. Okay. Very few people on the planet at this point don't use science and technology in some sort of way. And I would have told you myself several years ago, that ain't me. I mean, if you get real close to me right now, I've still got paint underneath my fingernails from a project I was working on last night. And I am definitely a artsy type of person, but I love technology and I love what this can do, and mostly in that communication technology kind of world. Now, guys online, guys who are live here, who said that they've never been live before? Okay. All right. So here's my argument against that. Does anybody have anybody in your family who's either same people who said that they've never been live before? Raise your hand if you've got somebody in your family who's hard of hearing. You've all been live before in the Walmart telling your business for the day because they got you on speaker. All right. So one of the things that you have to think about is that we don't have any control over our live environment anymore. Right. And the things that we do as soon as we close the door to our house are open for everybody to see. That's a scary thing. That's why we have people who don't want to leave their house. Right. Because they don't want to be recorded or they don't want to. Yep, it's happening. Right. I mean, as soon as you go outside, you are subject to the video camera at this point. Right. I mean, it's almost gotten to the point. And think about it with like DNA and video evidence just in court. right? If you don't have DNA for it anymore, didn't happen, right? If it's not on video, didn't happen, right? We have learned as a society to really depend on our video to make things proof, right? To prove the things that are around us. So the live environment allows us the opportunity to just kind of go into that space and say, it is what it is. I'm here with you, and we can do this together. Now, I taught a class on live programming, and the people who were coming into the class, not all of them knew that they were going to go live at some point, and they were terrified of it. All right. And you're going to be terrified as soon as you turn on the microphone. You're going to think, what am I going to say? Are people going to judge me? Are they going to say stuff to me? Are they going to say stuff that are challenge what I know? Right. And we have, as communicators, been going live for over 100 years. We just have more stuff to do it with. Okay. Y'all heard of that radio thing? That's been around for over 100 years, right? And that's a live environment. If you've ever been on the radio before, you're in a live environment. If you've ever been if you've ever been walking around and you see people with their cell phones out, you're in that live environment. Okay. You're Insta famous, even though you don't want to be. Right. And that's one of the challenges of what we do, is that we are in that live thing and we are vulnerable to that. Okay. A long time ago in classes, professors would say, I don't want people to have their phones out because I'm scared they're recording me. They were recording you from inside your book sack, right? Inside their book sacks. So, I mean, it was happening, and we've got to embrace that somewhat, but also understand that that's going to happen and be aware of it so that we are aware of the things that we do. Okay. So in your live environment, this is OBS. Okay. That's what you're really here today for, is to kind of understand this OBS system. So what is it? Has anybody in the audience or online, have you ever worked with this before? Have you ever worked with the OBS system before? Anybody? Yeah, YouTube is fantastic. I learned how to use OBS from ministers and gamers online. That is no joke. It is fun, Christina. It's fun. It's fun for sure. So, all right. So we've got a couple of people who have worked with it. Anybody here in the live audience? Got a couple of other guys. If you want to sit, you can definitely sit if you want to, or you can stand. So I'm standing. May as well stand with me. So a couple of people in here have worked with OBS on a limited basis, maybe? No, not at all. All right. Good news for all of you who haven't worked on it. It is free. Okay. It is why most people use it, because it is a free piece of software that you can download. All right. We use it in lots of different ways in the Center for Faculty Excellence, mostly for our podcasting that we do. And it is a live environment. When I'm interviewing other people, they ask me, what questions are you going to be asking me? I'm scared. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to ask you until you get there. I'm going to start talking to you, and then all of a sudden I'm going to ask you questions, and we're going to have a conversation. Right. That's the most important thing that I can tell you about the live environment. Don't try to script it. Don't try to script it. If you try to script it, you are going to stumble over your words. It is going to look like you're scripted it. There is no way to overcome that, especially if you're not somebody who does it every day and you're not used to reading a teleprompter or trying to make it look not fake, right? Don't script it. There's no reason to do that. And like I said just a second ago, you will be forgiven. All right. The only thing that I tell my students the rules are is don't cuss and don't talk about anybody's mama. Right. Those are the two things that can get you in trouble in a New York second in the live streaming area. Right. But most other things, I mean, as long as you're trying to do the right thing and your intent is good, you're going to be forgiven for most other things. Right. And most of us know those rules already. We practice those rules already. Be polite, be kind, understand that you can't say anything in the live environment that you can't say in the middle of the Walmart, right? It's live, it's there, and it's going to be out there, and it's going to be recorded. I'm getting recorded right now, and it's going to be shown and repeated. So let's just all act right, right? So OBS is free. That's the first thing that you need to remember. Okay. Also, the equipment that you need to work with it is very cheap, and you also have a lot of it in the palm of your hand. You can actually hook up your iPhone as a camera in OBS. The great reason that you would use OBS is because it is that live environment, and you can change scenes if you want to in while you're recording. You see up here, there's 2 of me right now in this system. And I might have to play with it for just a second, so bear with me. In this left screen, I'm just going to change my camera real quick and go to a different one. And these are the chairs that I'm looking at right here that are in front of me. And I'm going to hit OK. And what it's got behind it right now is a green screen. And we just transition over right there, right? And now you've got your new scene. So you can actually practice with 2 scenes at a time. Now, what I'm going to do in one of these other scenes real quick while I'm fixing something on the fly. So y'all forgive me for just a second while I'm here. I'm going to go into this. I'm going to do a new capture device, and I'm going to work with me, who is on the USB video. There I am. Look, there we go. And now I'm on the left over here in 2 different scenes. Now, let me tell you what I just did, because I had to fix something on the fly that wasn't there just a second ago. All of my scenes that are over here on the left, and I'll show you how to add scenes in just a second. I'll kind of take you through the breakdown of this. I'm just kind of showing you why you would use OBS at this time. All of my scenes were lining up with the same video, and I just figured that out while I was standing here. So I changed that. All I did was add another video device into the scene, and it took me to 2 different scenes. Now, why is this important? A couple of things that I want you guys to remember on here, that there are 2 scenes in this area right now. Okay. One is what I'm looking at in front of me that a different camera is on. And the other one is a camera that's on me. You can also use your webcam as a scene. You can connect another phone and use that as a scene. You can really have as many scenes in OBS as you have video recording equipment. Okay. Which is really nice. That's the difference between doing something that is, stagnant and kind of lecturing to a camera constantly, and actually having a couple of different scenes that you can bring in and show in different areas. And I can also add on this scene side in this area right here, just pictures so that I can talk over the pictures. What's on the right now, if I'm live streaming to Facebook or anything like that, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute as well. But if I'm live streaming to Facebook or live streaming to another area, and I've shared my keys from OBS, what's on the right is actually what's on the screen. You come on in, you come join me and you watch me. That's just fine. So when what's on the right is what's actually in the live environment. I've got a couple of people who are walking around behind me right now watching what I'm doing on the screen. But when you transition, now I would be the one that's in the live environment. Okay, so you see how that works. You choose a different screen. There I am again. Here is the screen without the blue screen behind it. Again, I'll take you through all these in just a second. But I can transition through all of these different areas here. There's the green screen at work. All right. And again, I'll take you through those in just a second. And where am I? There I am. I'm calling myself Jubin. I don't know why Jubin's there. Did y'all do a project that used Jubin at some? I got a bunch of shrugging shoulders. They've got no clue what's going on. The great thing about the iHub is that lots of different students use this space. So I just went in and grabbed one of their scenes and replaced it with me. So I'm Jubin today. You can also rename these areas over here. So let's take a step in and see kind of a little dive and see how this works, okay? This is what the deal is, all right, with OBS. You can choose your scenes. You can also choose your audio, which you see this little bar going down here right now. That's because I've chosen a specific audio that we're talking into for OBS. And it's not even the audio that I'm on talking to you guys. It's actually feeding into a different sound system. And that's the one that they're using because Google Meet was being a pain in the rear end and wouldn't take both mics at the same time. So we had to separate the mics, right? So that is, I pet peeve, having to present to a live audience and a technology audience at the same time, right? But also necessary, okay? Because that's what we do. So that's one of the things that we have to understand is We're going to have to do some things that we don't like doing. And the technology is going to give us some limitations. So we have to work around those things. And you need to try it early, right? Because the thing that works in one environment doesn't necessarily work when you get to the next environment. And that's what we figured out today, is that the Google Meet wasn't taking the same microphone feed as we needed for our OBS system. So you're seeing the system go up because it's hearing my voice from the other mics that are turned on. But I just turned the mics down in that area, and it's going to go way down because it's trying to find my sound now. All right. So different things. The sound can be controlled in this area as well. You can go in and select the properties of the sound from different areas here. UMC mic is one of my mics that's here on the side. Huh? What? I'm sorry. What's not showing? Oh, it's not showing my pop-up down at the bottom. Okay. Yeah, see, look, this is why you have help, right? Let's do this. Stop presenting. And we're going to do entire screen here. Sharing that for just a second, and then we'll go back up to the close-up. Okay, guys, thank y'all for letting me know. But you can choose different mics down here at the bottom. You can choose different sound from this area here down at the bottom, where you pop up the properties and you change to the digital audio, and it starts here in the digital audio, or you change to your capture card, which is part of your equipment. All right, so that is just, I'm gonna go back to the close-up of this guy because I wanna kind of take you guys again through the entire thing now. That was just kind of an overview of what it can do, okay? I promise that wasn't my tutorial on there. I just wanted to show you some of the things that it can do here. So I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna share that window so that it doesn't look so crazy. There we go. All right, and this is back into your OBS area. So a couple of things that I want you guys to take notes on. I just showed you can change scenes in OBS. That's super important, right? You can also change where you get your audio. Super important, okay? Because you also need to be able to control your mute. That is a huge function in here, and a warning to everybody. Do not hit the live button until everybody knows that the mics are on, period. All right? Period. Don't hit it and then mute it and say you can't hear it, because these computers do funny things to you, and they'll switch to your internal mic all of a sudden. And now whatever you're saying all over that internal mic is going everywhere. Don't hit live until it's time to go live. That is a lesson that I have learned in the last several years. Now, fortunately, when people have gone live with me before telling me that my mics are hot, I'm actually talking about nothing, the weather or whatever. But what if you're asking somebody before something starts, well, how's your family member? I heard that they were in the hospital. Oh, they're doing okay now. They don't want anybody to really know that they were in the hospital, but they were there. And you're just having a nice conversation, thinking that you're muted, right? Don't hit the live button until it's time to go live. Please, please, please listen to that if you hear nothing else today. All right. So when it's time to go live, that's when you do that. All right. So OBS, choose different sounds, choose different videos, but never trust it. Okay. Never trust live. Everybody in the area, I've worked in radio for many, many moons now. And every time we walked in, the general manager would say, pretend the mics are hot. Okay. Pretend they are. Because even if you don't think they are, they might be. All right. Somebody's going to forget to turn something off. Somebody's going to forget to mute. The computer's going to grab something weird. Something weird is going to happen. All right. So I know I'm saying that over and over again. That is probably the thing that can get you fired first, right? Is thinking that you're having a private conversation when you're actually announcing it to the world, because that's the possibility of this. Most recent and best live stream that I've had in my personal life is my son just got married 2 weeks ago, and I called my friend and I was like, hey, can you please put this on Google Meet and let's go live to my family that's in England because they can't be here. That's a live stream, right? Even though it's not meant to really be like your professional live stream or whatever, it's a live stream. So any of those things that you've participated in, you're live, right? So let's kind of take you guys kind of on a step by step basis through OBS and adding a scene and adding some sound and things like that to make sure that this works. I am going to hopefully be able to see most windows here because it's my sharing is giving me some funny options here. But what I'm going to do is kind of show you guys how to start with just kind of an empty slate. Okay. These on the left, like I said a second ago, are all different scenes. We can pop into them. We have different things on every one of them. Look, we were able to even add the Southeastern logo there. And all that is just adding a little image here on the right in these areas. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But you also have this beautiful picture, right? So we're going to start with a fresh scene though. We're just going to start with a scene and we're going to call it you're not seeing the box, but I am naming it right now. It just says, please enter the name of the scene. So I'm going to name it box, right? For no other reason than I just said box. Now, when you go into, I'm going to have to share the entire screen. I don't want to, but it's going to make me. So y'all just tell me if I look funny. All right. Can y'all see that? Everybody sees the big screen now? Okay, fantastic. So if I'm starting with a brand new screen on my OBS and I'm trying to add a scene, we're going to pretend that this is all empty because once you open OBS for the first time, it is all empty. All right. But I don't want to take out any of these scenes in case some student somewhere was working on a project that has some files in here that they're depending on or some settings. So I don't want to mess with it too much. But when you open OBS for the first time, it's going to have something like called scene 1 or something like that on the left. Okay. And scene 2 right underneath it. I'm seeing some people in the audience who've worked with OBS before go, yep, that's what happens. Right. And what you're going to do when you get into this area, I just named it box, right? I opened it, put box right there, and that was the name of my scene. Okay. Now there's nothing there right now. What's on the left is what you're working with. What's on the right is what's live streaming at the time. Right now, we are not live streaming anywhere except for the Google Meet. So I'm not grabbing OBS for any other reason than it is the screen. It is the entire screen of my computer. So what's on the right is not streaming live outside of this environment right now. It's only going into the Google Meet. Does everybody kind of understand what I'm saying there? Give me some nods. People live. Y'all let me know if, somebody's popping up somewhere saying that they need help. Okay. Those of you who are online, y'all actually might want to step in, might want to jump in and download OBS. And you can actually walk along with me if you want to. Okay. So if you add a scene on the left, you got to have something in that scene, right? And this area on the right works in layers. And this is what you are adding to your scene. When I go into these different scenes, this is the information that is in each of those areas. And I just said a second ago that these work in layers. Check this out. When I get rid of the S, it disappears, right? This is a layer. The image is a layer. The table is a layer. That is the video layer. And we'll walk through the green screen in just a second. But it all works in layers. So we kind of got to keep that in mind. So if you add something on the right that you don't think that you can see right away, it's probably because you've got it behind something. And I'm going to show you how that works. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is add an image. I'm going to add the existing iHub logo because I think it's always dangerous to try to grab something that's somebody else has in there, right? And then I'm also going to add the existing, whoops, I need to add another image, sorry, to get another layer here. So I'm going to add the existing image 2, and and hope that that's a good image, right? So that one's, I don't know that there's anything in that. Nope, there's not. So you'd go here and you'd browse and you'd find you a nice little picture. Studying, and we'll do copy of iHub logo just in case, right? But you see, now we've got 2 iHub logos there. They're acting in layers with each other. I grab that one and I move it around. I grab this one and I move it around. And when it's time for me to move that into that live stream, I just transition it right there. I come to the left. The only thing that's live is what's on the right. Okay. So when you're in studio mode, the only thing that's live is in the right. All right. So I'm going to transition me back here. And I want to kind of show y'all how we can move some of this stuff around and stay with these layers. You can change it and move it and get more attention to other areas in your scene. So I'm going to get rid of the video capture device, for example, right now. And we're going to call this the opening scene of our show, right? So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to throw our green screen back over here. I'm going to bring the video. Now remember that the only thing that's showing live right now is what's on the right side. I'm going to bring the video back up here. Somebody want to be brave and walk in front of there and show them what people look like in front of this? I need a brave soul real quick. There we go. We've got one of our audience members coming in. He's going to show you right now. Remember, what's on the right is the only thing that they can see. Wave, hello, hi, there you go. And then when we move him to the right, he's there, right? And then I go, oh man, I left my image up there. I don't really want the iHub thing to be there. I can change that on the fly and move that over there, and it never misses a beat on what's on him. Okay. So these are some of the things that you kind of have to get used to when you're playing with it. And if I were you guys in the very beginning, I would start with just kind of a simple shot where you just have one camera to deal with, right? And you're feeding it live and you kind of see what you got. And then you start playing with adding the second camera or the second scene, which is what we've done when we added other people. And this is me back into it, right? And now we're done with that scene and I'm coming back in, right? All right. So this is what is live, is what is on that right-hand side. That's very important to you guys. Okay. The biggest mistake that you're going to make when you are working with 2 cameras at the first time, and you're going to do it and it's okay, and you just have to forgive yourself for it, is that there's going to be sound coming over the top of this thing. You see my sound is going. My sound never changed. Even though I was changing all of my scenes, my sound kept the same because I had already chosen the sound down at the bottom. Right. So I could be talking. I'm on the right-hand side here, and I could be just talking and telling you a great story about my life and telling you all about my friends and my family and what's going on. And why do you want to look at my friend standing right there when I'm talking about me? Oops, I forgot to hit my scene. Finally, I'm there and you can get to see me again. That's going to be the biggest mistake you make when you start live and you start messing with your 2 cameras. You're going to forget to move your scene over. Okay. Now, that's why it's really important, if you've got a producer, to use one. Okay. That's the best way to do it, because their concentration is going to be on what's live at the moment. The best thing to do is use 2 people in these things, because if you're just one person, and I look, during the pandemic, I used OBS to do my radio show that fed to Facebook, and I did it in a live environment, and I sent the sound back to the radio show, and it was, I mean, you had to do what you had to do, right? But I was interviewing someone who would be on the left hand of the screen, like my friend here, who's on the left hand of the screen, right? And then he'd start talking, and I'm sitting here like this, and you can see me checking all my settings and making sure they're right, and checking my volume, make sure they're right. And my friend's just having a great conversation. And I look up and I'm like, oh, great. So finally he goes over and he can talk again, right? When you're by yourself, it's hard to pay attention to everything at the same time. right? It's very difficult to do that. So if you've got a producer with you, my biggest suggestion is to do this in twos, right? And just make sure that you don't turn your don't hit live until it's time to go live, right? So two big lessons right now. Do this in twos. Now, if you are by yourself, like pretty much right now, I'm kind of by myself. I'm running the OBS thing. I'm running my live stream. I'm kind of doing a lot of different things at once. And we were talking to the live audience before this started. This really isn't the best way to do something, right? Because at some point, I'm going to be paying attention to my guys online. At another one, I'm paying attention to you guys here. Y'all, I can't look in two places at one time. I can't do it, right? So somebody's going to feel neglected at some point during this conversation the entire time that I'm here because I'm doing too many things at one time. But it's necessary if we're putting these things out into the public, but also trying to have that one-on-one contact so that some of the students that are here watching this can understand how to work some of this material, some of this media, I should say. And that's who you've been seeing walking around me. That's who we've got in the camera right now with me. And you don't have to stay there anymore. I appreciate you. So I'll pick on somebody else in a few minutes. All right. So, you can do all of these things, and it's just going to take a little bit of practice. All right. Best thing that you can do, ministers use this in church all the time. They use OBS in church because it plays with different scenes and because it's really user friendly when you get in there. It's not going to take you long to learn how to use this. Even though it's got a lot of bells and whistles, you are going to gradually learn those. So don't be afraid of everything it can do. And worry about the two things that it can do really well, which is you can pick your sound and you can pick different scenes, and start with that. Start just with that. And in fact, when you do your first one, stick with one scene and just see how it kind of works. And maybe you have an opening scene, like we talked about that iHub logo just a second ago. Maybe that's your opening scene and you move to you and you're done with scenes for that one. So you can just kind of test those sounds and test the video out. And then you close with that iHub scene again, right? So that you don't get too complicated in the things that you're doing. So don't complicate it at first, right? Just make sure that you kind of gradually do things. And when you want to do the next thing, you want to add that scene in down at the bottom. You go here, you add your next scene, and you continue to build what you're doing. Okay. Now here at the iHub, one of the really cool things that we have is a green screen. So I'm going to take you through this for a second and show you how this works. All right. I'm going to select my video real quick. There we go. And it's called FHD capture because that's part of the equipment. And again, I'll show you that in just a second. But you see how it's coming up blue? Well, here at Southeastern, we can't have green screen. We can't have nice things, right? Because we are green people here at Southeastern. We all walk around in green and gold. And when we stand in front of a green screen, we look like Harry Potter and the cloak, right? So it's not good. So we learned that early, and I'm the one that figured it out. Thank you very much. That is what I paid all that money for a PhD for, to figure out that green on shirts disappear in front of a green screen. So when you are, when we built our first studio over in D. Vickers, and it was great. We painted the entire wall green. It was wonderful. KSLU was the sponsor of that room. And we gave away more KSLU t-shirts that year than any other semester on campus ever, I think, because people walked in with green shirts on and we'd go to the bathroom, go change, because we can't see you on a green screen. So I contacted my friend Bonnie when she told me to come over here. She wants a green screen. I said, no, you don't. No, you don't. You want a blue screen. And blue is another color that your skin doesn't pick up. Okay. So you want green or you want blue. And it's a pigment that your skin doesn't have. Now you say, well, some people have blue eyes. Yeah, you're probably going to have to do some adjusting once you get into picking green screens for your stuff. You're probably going to have to go in there and do that. I'm going to show you how. All right. So right now we've got this filter here. Now I need something to put behind this guy before we start out. So I'm going to add an image. And remember, we work in layers. Try to add your video first. Okay. If you add your video first, you're always going to be safe, or else you're going to have to move things up and down. Um, but what's going to happen here is I'm going to add an image, and we'll just add the SLU logo, right? And it's behind that video. I mean, it's in front of the video right now. So you see how it's sitting in front of this chair. So I'm going to move it down, and now it's hidden by that blue screen. Okay. Well, how do I see through that blue screen if I want to see the other side? Well, you're going to be working in filters. So you're going to click on your video area again. You're going to right click that, and you're going to go to filters, and you're going to choose the chroma key. Okay. And when you go in here, it's going to default to green. Okay. But if you pull up, you see you've got a couple of other options there. You've got magenta, you've got custom, you've got blue. Ours is blue, so we're going to hit blue. Whoa, that took a lot of it out, didn't it? So you just move down here and you start moving things around, because it's going to depend on the light in your room where you adjust things with this green screen. And now it looks pretty good, right? It's okay. So I'm going to close that. And you see I've got my nice little Southeastern logo behind there. And if I click on the logo, I can move him right to the middle if I want to. And now we've got a nice little green screen effect here. Okay. I can also add an image behind that if I want to. Let's see if this is one. There we go. And you see how he comes up in front first, right? But if I move him down to the bottom, he's in the background. My Southeastern S is in the middle. And you can play with the color on all of these things, okay? And that's going to depend on the light in your room, the quality of the picture. I'm guessing that picture is a PNG, which means it's see-through, right? So those are some of the things that you just kind of have to play with, but understand that it's in layers. So if you do your green screen and you feel like you've got it right and you can't see your image, it's probably just because you don't have things moved around properly, right? But if you keep that video at the top as much as possible, keep your video option at the top. That's the thing that you want to see all the time, right? So keep that one at the top, and then work in layers behind that. And then you can hide these things with your little eyeball here, and we can just have a black background if you want to. Now, lesson number 1, everybody has a different skin tone, right? We all do. I am very, very white. And when I get underneath lights, I turn very, very red. So a lot of times my people have to go in and adjust my colors to take some red out of there. Okay. Other people have darker tones in their skin. And when they get underneath the lights, they have to adjust for that as well. You also want to make sure that you see everybody's eyes when you're working with the green screen, right? And you want to make sure that everybody's hair is okay too, because people with blonde hair have a little trouble underneath those lights too. Okay. Because blonde has a yellow pigment in it. And with green screens, it'll start pulling that out. Yellow and blue make green, right? Yellow and blue make green. All of those mixtures of colors, you just have to play with it and make sure it's right. And you're probably going to have to change that setting or change the way that your lights are every time somebody else gets into the picture. Okay. Now there are some default settings that you can just go with. And again, you're live. People will forgive that, right? You don't have to have perfect light. You don't have to have perfect anything other than really sound. The sound is the most important thing. Sound is king in live streaming. Okay. You want to have a decent mic. We have a terrible echo in this room. All right. It's terrible. We actually fix that by putting big soundboards around the space that you're looking at right here on the left. Right here to the right of it, there are sound screens that surround this guy to try to help with that echo that's in there. And it is a wonderful gift to give to your audience, not to echo in their ears. All right. You do want to check your sound. Mics are cheap. They are very cheap. Okay. The mics that you need to do this, that most people understand is a decent mic. you could pay $50 for it. It's not bad, right? These are big, nice, beautiful podcasting mics. And yes, those of us who do podcasting can tell the difference between the sound that comes off of these mics and cheaper mics, but most people can't. Okay. Most people just want to make sure that you're not echoing and that they can understand what you're saying. They don't really care if you sound like you're sitting right next to them in the room, like those of us who are snobs about sound do. But they do care that they can hear and that it's not echoey or it's not staticky, right? Because we will tolerate bad video when we're watching something. We will not tolerate bad audio. Okay? Think about it. The video goes out on your TV. You can still listen to the story. Okay. And we've all had that happen before where something just kind of freezes, right? And you can still hear it. That's good. In the car, when you get just out of range of that radio, what do? Switch immediately, right? We can't take it. We cannot, our brains will not tolerate it. We will not put up with it. Nobody's any different. If they can't hear you, they're turning you off. Sound is king in the live stream. Okay. Get the sound right, if nothing else. That's the first thing I checked when I came into this video today, was to make sure that the sound was right. Now, how do you stream from here? All right. Well, if you go into Facebook and you go into your live area, all right, I'm just going to tell you how to do this because it's different on every social media area. But if you go into live, you're going to see a streaming key. Okay. It's going to ask you, it's going to say, if you want to go live with this video, you want to copy the key from whatever social media you're in or whatever streaming system that you're in. You're looking for the live stream key to go live. Okay. And what you do is you come into your OBS area. Whoops, not start streaming. Sorry. Settings. And you go into the stream area and you see this stream key right here. Remember I said you're going to copy the key. It's going to look something like that. If you're in Facebook, it's going to look like FB 709,000XZBBY, right? It doesn't matter what it looks like. You're just copying the key. So you start with your social media platform and you tell it that you're going to go live and you copy the stream key. Okay. And this is where you paste it. And then you hit OK and you hit start streaming. Now, right now it's telling me it cannot access the specified channel, probably because that Facebook key is old and it's now dead. All right. But if we're actually in that live environment on Facebook, we would go live. You'd go to Facebook at that point and you'd hit go live. So don't be afraid of this part of it. Okay. Because once you hit the stream key here, you tell it, okay, you're not live yet. You're not live until you hit the go live button on the social media platform. Okay. Or on the live streaming platform. That's when you're live. And that's when we want to watch what we say. Right. And do and touch and things like that. Right. So, it is an easy piece of equipment. And I know I've kind of taken you through a quick tour of it today. Can you guys see in your world where this might fit? Where is my stop sharing area? There we go. Are y'all with me? What are your ideas? Tell me what you got. Can you see where you could fit this? Anybody? Where do you fit it? For those of you who are using it right now, gaming, church live streaming. See, told ya. So absolutely, church live streaming, big time, big use of OBS in church live streaming. Students doing a school newscast. Yep, that's what we used it for. We absolutely used it with school live broadcasts. Now, the scary thing is your administrators are going to tell you, what if they say something really bad online? You're going to say, well, they can also do that on their Twitter feed. Well, it's on our sponsored platform. Absolutely. And it can be erased. and we will take due diligence to make sure that those things are taken care of immediately, right? So you're going to have to talk to your administrators and the people around you and let them know that yes, we are aware that these things can happen. Okay. Yes, we are also aware that they can go during free speech alley here at Southeastern and say anything they want on our campus, right? Students have free speech. Okay. Now, when you are in K-12, it's a different kind of free speech, right? So you have to make sure that you're following the rules there, but you want your administrators at the table when you start talking about going live, especially with students. Okay. We've had the conversations in here. There are policies in the iHub about the live streaming and what students are not necessarily allowed to do, but what they understand they're agreeing to when they use the equipment here at Southeastern. So it is definitely it's a conversation that has to happen with upper level folks so that you can bring those things into your classrooms. So trainings, definitely. That's what I'm doing right now, right? I'm doing it for live streaming. Again, Jennifer, one of the things that I would say when you're live streaming is that pick an audience if you can, if you're able to do that, because you want to make sure that you give plenty of attention to both sides of an audience. And unless you have somebody moderating for you who is kind of taking care of everything, you split your attention, right? And sometimes you lose attention of your audience. So you definitely want to make sure that you are that you're maybe picking your poison, for lack of a better term or phrase. So training classes, definitely, Patrick, you can definitely use them on training classes. And the best thing about that OBS system, one of the things that you can do on the left is have an image of some sort. When I added those scenes, you can just add a still image. And you remember how I said that you can talk over the mic the entire time that you're showing anything in that online area? You bring the image to the right and you say, well, here you see Pride Hall, which is where our Southeastern police department is located. So you can actually talk over those images when they're on your screen as well, which is really nice. And that's a great element of training, is to be able to almost put your PowerPoints into JPEG type styles and then talk over the top of them. So it's a wonderful place to do that. Now, you can also record with OBS as well. You see this little recording here? You don't have to be live with OBS. You can use your two different scenes there. You can use your different images, your different everything, and you could just record the whole thing and you tell it where you want it to place it on your computer, and it places a movie file right there for you. Now, don't forget though, I've got two students who are right now doing some filming at the kinesiology building today. They're going to be doing some mock telehealth types of classes, and they're teaching students what to do and what not to do in these telecourse sessions. So they're going to be recording the good and the bad, right? They're using OBS to do that because they want to use two different scenes, right? And they want to make sure that their sound is good. So they're using good lapel mics when they're doing these videos. And what I told them was record it twice. All right. Because like I said just a second ago, inevitably in a live environment, you're going to mess up. You're human, right? We are human beings. We are going to do something silly. But if you've got 2 or 3 recordings of something that you're planning to edit later, great. You're not going to get forgiven in the editing environment. You're going to get forgiven in the live environment. All right. So keep that in mind when you're putting your stuff together. Okay. So definitely if you're recording with OBS, record a couple of them. You'll be very glad that you did, and listen to the recording before you leave to make sure you've got good sound. All right. Sound is king. All right. So we're kind of coming to the end today. I'm hoping that this was a little helpful to kind of give you a little kind of down and dirty on OBS and what it can do. Again, if it depends on your application, and if you want to contact me later, I'm going to put my email address in comment section, amber.narro@sclu.edu. If anybody wants to contact me and say, hey, do you have any ideas? What would our setup look like for this? I can walk you through that. The simple setup that I have here, we've got some expensive cameras in here, but you don't need them. Okay. Live streaming only streams about 750. Sometimes it'll go a little higher than that, but you don't need a 4K video camera to do live streaming. Two reasons. Number one, if you try to use it in some of the social media platforms, it's going to kick it back or go really, really slow because you're feeding it too much information and the live stream can't take it. Secondly, the it will start pixelating and get nasty. Your beautiful video will look ugly on live stream if you feed it too much information. It'll look very warped and kind of blurry and slimy. All right, because it doesn't. The computer's trying to grab 750 or 1280. It's not trying, or 780 1250. You know what I'm saying? The lower level of picture there, and when you're feeding it something that's bigger than that, it can't take it, it can't understand it. It's gonna mess with it, and you're gonna get beautiful sound over terrible picture. All right, this is where I would invest more than anything, would be a good microphone. Okay, good lapel mics, they're fine. So if you're doing like a newscast or something like that, just get you a couple of mics. And what you will also need is, I'm going to unplug this guy because I'm not talking into it right now. A great little piece of equipment is a Behringer mixer mic. Okay, you can plug 2 microphones. You can actually plug 4 microphones into this guy. You can control volume right here from the knobs, and it mixes the sound into a USB into the back of this computer, which is wonderful. Now, I know that you guys, because I can see it in my screen, I know that you can see some of the backs of what's in our computer right now. There's a couple of things that you probably are going to need. One of them is a capture card for your computer. Now, you can buy a capture card that feeds an HDMI wire from a bigger camera, or you can just use the USB from your iPhone, and you can set up 2 iPhones on a tripod and feed them both into this system. Okay, you don't need to buy huge equipment. Just remember, when you're on your iPhone and you're using it as a video camera, you can't use it to check your sound at the same time. So you're going to need something else to check sound. And a good pro tip is, once you do go live, have somebody check the sound on the live feed itself, not just through where you're talking, but through the live feed itself. Okay, so you want somebody just to pull up that Facebook live feed, listen to it, make sure it sounds good, and move on. I can't stress how important that is, because again, computers switch mics on you. You forget to check the mic and make sure that it's still grabbing the same one from last time. Somebody else comes in behind you, changes your mic, right, for their project, and you come back in and just kind of assume that it's still set up the same. It's not. And then you got terrible sound. So definitely go on there. And again, it's forgiving. As soon as they tell you, there's a little lag. There's probably a 10 to 15 second lag between it going from OBS to your social media system. So you can go, hey, I'm getting a nod from somebody that our sound is off. So hang on just a second. We're going to change our mics. Okay, we're back in, right? You hear that on the news every morning. They grabbed the wrong mics. It's okay. Let them grab the wrong mics. So cheap cameras, somewhat decent of a mic. Please don't use your computer mic, because it's going to grab everything in the room and you're going to get that awful audio echo thing. Just invest in some sort of mic. Okay. And then when you have more money, invest in a bigger mic. Ask for some donations from people who really want to see their kids on that newscast. That'll work, right? So you can do that as well. I've got also, so the little Behringer sound mixer is really important if you want more than one person on there at a time. You also want a couple of decent mics, like I said, lapel mics. You also have cheap cameras. You need a capture card if you're going to use a camera that's not an iPhone, that doesn't already come from a USB. You're going to want a cheap little capture card. And what I mean by capture cards are little items. Let me see. Hang on. Let me pull one. This is one. This is a capture card. Let's see. Where's my camera? There we are. This is a capture card. This is one of the more expensive capture cards. It is a USB 3.0 HD. They're about $100. Okay. They actually have a place where you can put the HDMI cord, and it goes to USB, And then OBS recognizes this. You just restart your computer so that it recognizes the new piece of equipment, right? And OBS recognizes it to pull that video in, which is where we were pulling the video for that for the chairs when I was showing you the green screens. Also, too, you can get those that are cheaper than this. Okay, this is kind of an expensive one. The one that is actually in this camera right now, you can see it kind of right here down in the bottom left of my screen, and it's got the little label on it down at the bottom. That one was about 15 bucks from Amazon. It works just fine. It's got a really expensive camera plugged into it right now, and my face is on that capture card right now. So it's really all you need. You don't need to buy some big, huge, expensive capture card, especially if you're going to use it around kiddos or students, because if you lose 15 bucks, it's not that big a deal. You're kind of frustrated about it. You lose 100, you start getting mad. All right. So protect your own investments by buying stuff that's not that expensive. And if you find you need something bigger than that, you can invest later. You can always grow your show into your budget. So it is 12:30. Does anybody have any questions? Yes. You can Google OBS software online, and it'll take you straight to the page where you download it. You download it for free. Just download it to whatever operating system you're on. So you don't have to have a Mac. You can have a PC. Lots of people run OBS off of PCs. I'm just a Mac girl. I was a Mac girl before Mac was cool. So that's what I like to use. No, OBS is not mobile friendly at this point. So it may need to be at some point, but right now you want to run this from a computer. So your phone, as far as like using it as a video camera, you don't need to add anything to the phone to make it run through OBS. No. Okay. So the question was, can you use your AirPods as a mic in OBS? While you can, because you're pulling from the computer's audio, if you do it that way, you're still going to get the echo from the sound of the room. So I would suggest that you use this. Now, I say that maybe you're in a really good room, okay, that doesn't echo like this one does. If you can use, you try what you can use until you figure out that there's a problem, and then you reinvest, right? But I would say start cheap and add to it rather than trying to buy everything all at once and then you figure out you don't need a bunch of that garbage, right? So, and that's what we did here at Southeastern. We went, I mean, I found cameras that hadn't been used in a little while, and I said, I'll have that one and I'll have that one. And then we plugged in the capture cards and really kind of started slow and grew to what we needed. The only reason we have big cameras in here is because this isn't the only thing these cameras are used for. These cameras are also used for professional, like, projects and classes and like videoing movies and things like that people are shooting, commercials and stuff. So anything else from the group online? All right. Well, y'all let me know if you have any other questions on anything. I know I've kind of given you a really big crash course here, and it looks like this thing can do a lot of things. It can. Start simple. That's the whole lesson in this thing, is start simple. And if you want to know what it can do, YouTube it. Pay attention to ministers and gamers. They're your friends. All right. Thank y'all.